Hi, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way again. I've got a smashing layout for you this time. I've used the Uniquely Creative Steampunk collection, which is sort of a very steampunky type papers, which I wouldn't normally use. So the kit had actually got pushed right to the back, but I thought I'm busting my stash, so I am going to use this collection. So what I did is I did a normal layout. I haven't got any flat pages and things, so and I'll show you the process video from the start to the finish. And out of the bits and bobs that were left, I actually just busted my stash by just making some very quick cards out of all the bits and bobs that were left over, and then I just degutted my kit and filed my papers away for use with other things. So please, if you do like this process video, please don't forget to subscribe and also leave me a message. I always read everybody's messages, or if you've got any questions, just drop them in the comment box below and I'll answer your queries. So let's get on with our fun of making our cards. Here's a quick sneak peek at the papers that I'll be using in the layout that I'm going to do the process video on, and there is a story why I'm using these papers, because I'm busting my stash. I actually managed from Kmart to get some containers that are meant for the fridge that hold fantastically your 12 by 12 papers, and as I was sorting into these containers all of my papers, this kit had actually just been pushed to the back because it is a steampunk type of paper, and as you can tell, it is very steampunky, and it is something that I would never ever use. But most of the papers in this collection have a fantastic plain papers with a few graphics which I could actually use. So I thought, right, I'm going to use this kit and just see how I go, because in the flowers that they use, they have beautiful toning. So what I've done, I've gone and cut out all of my papers with the flowers on, and I've also from this sheet here cut some of my clogs, the numbers I can use some of the arrows. So I've cut everything out that I could possibly use. And with Uniquely Creative, normally now on the back of these sheets they do actually come with a cut apart sheet, but when they were doing this they didn't. So I bought, that goes with the kit. They only cost $1 extra from Uniquely Creative, these sheets, which of course I can use all the tags and the other bits and bobs. So I'll give you a quick sneak peek at these papers. So this also has a beautiful wood grain which we can use as well. So of course this sheet is completely cut apart. It has a nice sort of a darker brown. It has the beautiful metal which would give you a texture. It has a nice, because I would never use any of these, has a nice spot that goes with it, and on the back sheet you have your plainer sheet which you can use some of your cogs. It has an amazing newspaper print on both sides, so you've got two different textures that you can actually physically use. There is this sheet here which has a different spot, but I would use the plainer papers. And it also has this sheet here which you can use again. Now to these sets of papers, I definitely thought because of the floral colours I would have to add from my stock just some papers. So I went through and found some papers that suited the tonings of my flowers. So I don't know which one of these I will use, but I probably might do, or I might even use a stencil on the cream with this colour ink to give it some of that red colour to draw everything in. I also found some gasite paper, which is just to give some texture. I might even use some gold with it. And I also have got some vellum as well, which I might use. So these are all my flowers that I have cut from those sheets. I also had the ephemera pack here, which has got some tickets. It's got bingo. I may use some of the butterflies. These are a bit big for what I want, but I might go into my butterfly box, which a lot of you have seen before, where I have all my odd butterflies left over from kits and things. So I might just go through and find the colours that I want for my butterflies. As well, I found a cog cut apart sheet, so I may even sort of stipple those and use those. If I don't use those, I have actually gone into my box of tricks. So I have my clock box where I've got lots of different clocks and things I can use. I also have my ticket box. Because they did use tickets, I might delve into some of my sort of tickets that I have made in the colour tonings that I require. So I may use some of those. And I also have my cog box, which of course I've got my metals, I've got my wooden cogs, and if I don't use any of these from the cut apart sheet, I will just file them into my cog box for another time and another use. So I tend to keep my ephemera, particularly like cogs, tickets, clocks and things, all in these containers close at hand, so I can delve into them when I need them. I will be using a distress ink for around the edges, and I have found some sort of burgundy washi tape which I might use as well. So what I tend to do is I find my papers, I work out, particularly if you don't have this kit and you want to use it as a template, just find some nice papers that go with your flowers and etc., and just use this process video as a template for what your papers are. I also have delved into my bingo cards that I've had left over. As you can see, I've got some Prima ones here, all sorts of things here, and I've got some here that are the old vintage type, which will go with the type that they've got in their ephemera. So you should never ever throw anything away once you strip your kits. Just file them away into places like I have in a filing system, and then they're there for whenever you need them as extras. Here are those containers that I got from Kmart, and as you can tell, they hold and make your papers stand up really, really well. And of course, if you want your kits and etc., you can just pull which one that you want out, and then all your papers don't all fall over. I think they're the next thing since sliced bread. They are absolutely amazing, and in Australian dollars they're only $5 each, so it's a really, really economical way of getting some filing into your papers. I'll take you right up and I'll show you the docket. I've left one on there so I can actually physically show you, so if you want to Google them. As I said, they are absolutely fantastic, and I'll just spin you around. As you can tell, there's all my odd boxes of all my sort of washi tapes, my tickets and clocks and things. And just down below here in the red container there with all the little drawers, I keep all my die cut things like hearts, arrows, and all of those sort of things that I use all the time. So they're all at hand, very, very easy to access. And I do have a little filing system here where I keep all my other bits and bobs in these sort of folders I just stitched, so that if I get my, like my bingos, extra florals, films, borders. I have my doilies at the back. I have like all my photos, chevrons, my larger tags, flags, envelopes and things, all sort of filed, and also my stencils. So these are all close to hand. And then my small papers I have sorted out into my colours. And also down below here I have all my filing of my odd pieces of paper that I have left over from strip kits, and I've got them colour coded into colours. I have my basil papers and things here in my white creams, and all my coloured basils over there sorted. And in here I have things like my wood grains and all of that filed away, like paper with scripts and etc., so that everything is all filed so I can actually find it when I need it. So I hope you enjoyed the little tour of my scrapbook room. Now we'll start making our first layout card, which is, as normal, is always starts from the top on the right hand side, so just to make it easy. And also I have cut 9. I decided to use craft for my photo mats this time because it just goes with the color scheme, and it also is quite good with photographs because it's quite a neutral color. So I have cut 9 3x4 of these, and 1 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 for just a slightly larger size. So that's just a quick heads up with what I've done. So with this first card, I used the newspaper print on this. So I've just cut myself a 6x4. Now this little one here was the paper I decided to use, was the one with the little spots, just to give me some texture. So that is 2 3/4 by 5 3/4, which will just give me a small border. Now I have edged all of my cards in the distress ink just around the edges. So as normal, I just put that there with a tiny little border all around, which just gives me my base to build on. Now this gasite paper, if you haven't got anything like this, you could actually use some vellum and just ink on the back, which would actually give you that grungy look. So with your vellum paper, so all you would have to do is get your vellum sheet and just give it a bit of a going over with your distress ink. And as you can tell, it gives you quite a similar look if you can't find that sort of paper. It's what they used to wrap all the old tools in the old days. I just happen to have some given to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick just some of this on here like so, and over the other side. Now I'm not taking it all the way across. These were just some scraps I had left over because this is going to have all flowers and things. And this is a typical My Candy card. Also too, from the rose coloured foil I've got a die here with just numbers. If you haven't got anything like that, I'm sure you've got some letters or numbers on puffy stickers or anything like that that you can use. That will work as well. So all I did was I put some up the top and a number down the bottom, and I'm going to build some of my cut out flowers just over the top of that, like so, so that these are just peeping out. So if you just pop your flower on the top, gently take that off. Now with these, I'm going to use my glue because it's just too difficult to take these down. So just sort of remember where basically they were and just pop them down. And also too, that's one thing that's really good with this glue. They are movable for a little while. So if you get your flowers on top and it's not quite where you want them, you can actually reposition these numbers for a few seconds until they dry. So we're just going to stick those down with a bit of glue. I didn't think I would use this die very much, but I have in actual fact used it quite an amount. We'll just attach those down and get them to stick down. Now I think with this flower here I might actually raise that up on some foam tape just to get a bit of dimension. Now because you're putting these into pockets, you do not need to use a lot of tapes and things like that because your pocket will protect them to a certain degree, unlike if it's a junk journal or something like that, that gets a lot of handling. Because once they're in the pockets, they actually have the plastic over the top to protect them. But that is one of the reasons why I tend to strip my flowers back to single layer flowers, because you can't build up your stuff too much. So we'll just pop this flower combo over. Now there is going to be a little bit taken off, so if it's overlapping, just go with your scissors and just snip it off so it sits like so. And that allows me to build my other flower clusters, poke them in underneath where I want them to go. So I'm just going to bring this one in underneath to where I think I like it, and then once I've got that sort of established, I will stick it stick that down, and that will give you a three-dimensional look. And I think just up in the top corner here, I may put this flower here, and I'm going to, because it's got cogs there, I'm just going to slip underneath a couple of these cogs. Now this cog here, it was from that cut apart sheet. I am going to use, I'll just see whether I can colour this in a bit. Not enough to my liking. So I'll just go through and find a colour that I like. Okay, I think what I might do is, this is sort of like a goldy pen, which I might just quickly colour them in, which gives you sort of like a pewtery colour, because I really don't like them natural. You can be as rough as you like with them. And then I've just got one of those Wick Gold pens, which will just give it a bit of a plastic tint. And there we have my cog. And see, that looks so much better once it's coloured in. Now I'll just stick that one down. on the top so it looks like it's a cog that's in its working position. So we'll just stick this cog in as well. And how easy was that? And as you can tell with your layering, this gasite paper really does just give you that little bit of texture. There we have our first card completed. Now this is the card that is the opposite to the top side that I'm doing. Now I have used the darker colour sheet for this to give a bit of body, but I did like this one because it had the extra markings, which has just come off of this sheet here. If you haven't got that, just do a stamp and maybe get some textures and do your stitching with a line through. It's quite easy to do. So I've edged these in the Distress ink. So we're just going to put the cog up the top like so. And then I cut a small piece of the spotty paper just to give some layering down the bottom. So we are going to just put this once again. I tried to get my little borders roughly about the same. And that will just give you a base card to work with to put all your other things. I have got here my 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 photo mat, so I can put a true 3 by 4 photograph on there, which is going to go here, just over a bit. So because of that, I'm going to have to take this slightly across. So what I will do there is I will bring that down so I've got a small little edge to match this edge, like so, so that when I put my photo mat in, all my little edges tend to match up. Now I'll bring that down so that the edge is the same on the outside there. Now what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to take all of my tape off because I'm going to build the top of the card up. So I will put my card into place and attach it just at the bottom, so I've got all this to work with. Now I've got the bingo card that came from the Euphoria set, which I want to attach. Now I've got some of my waxy paper here. And if you haven't got vellum to do, if you haven't got this or vellum, you could actually use cooking wax paper. I think that would probably have exactly the same effect, and just colour it in with your Distress ink. I'm fairly sure that would make a very, very similar texture paper. Now I'm just going to put this in. And just overlap that like that. And it will just give you a little bit of grunge, which I want with this because it is grungy papers. Now my bingo card, I want just at the top. And I'm going to angle that and just pop that in at the top underneath. I have also done, this came off of the cut apart sheet that I got. If you haven't got this, you could just use some of the grey. And I want that slightly raised. So now I've got all my layers done. I can take the rest of those tapes off and lay my 3 by 4 down. This is going to go over the top. Now, as you can tell, I've just put a bit of the raising tape at the top so I can actually get my photograph underneath. I'm just going to layer that up the top, just at the top of the photograph. And as you can tell, my photograph will be able to go underneath that when I stick my photograph down. And then I've got just an odd piece of the 5 left over from those number die that I cut, and I just want to introduce that a bit, running through. So I'm just going to pop that down over the top, like so. And as I said, you can actually see that your stitching line and your other things just gives you a bit of extra texture and everything else to your layout. Now we're doing the bottom portrait cards. Now I just got that washi tape that I was using, which was this washi tape here. I have just laid a line straight down the center, and this card just came from this sheet here that has the arrows, and I just used this corner piece down here with all the paper. Once again, it just introduces some texture. So I've just put my washi tape straight down, whereupon I just fold that underneath. I do like washi tapes, they are quite nice. Now I've got some of this once again, that paper, which I'm just going to mute that tape because it's not quite the right colour, but if we mute it, it will be perfect. So I'm just going to put my tape down the centre, as if it will stick. Okay, that does not want to stick, so I will put this next to the tape just so I can get that paper down. And I'm going to stick that over as far as I can go and stick that down. Because of the way that this works, I think I might just fold it over and down just to keep it attached. Just make sure you don't have any of that tape on the back, because otherwise it will stick when you put it into your folder. So there we have our paper down. Once again, I'm just introducing just some texture and some layering, so I'm just going to put a little bit of the leftover newspaper print, making sure I've got my words the right way, up into the top corner, like so. Now my photo mat here is a true 3x4 photo mat here. So we will next stick that down, and that is going up to the top here. So I think what I might do is just move this up slightly. And then my photo mat I'm going to centre. Slightly over. Now the reason why I'm doing that is I've got a big cluster that I'm going to be putting down here, so I want my photo mat to be over so that it shows, so that the cluster just goes over the corner. Now don't forget not to stick any of these down. So the piece of tape here I will rip off, so when my photograph goes in I can just take that little bit off and stick it down. So we will stick, I haven't edged my piece, and it just gets rid of all those little white bits that you see. So now we're going to stick this down. I want the cog at the top, so I've just turned it round until I can get it where I want it. I'll stick that down like so. Now I've coloured one of those cogs in from the cut apart sheet like I did before, so it all matches. I've got a cog here which I want on the top, and then I want this one on the top, so I'm going to stick that down. And I'll use some Tombow glue for that, and sort of attach it so that the cogs are interconnecting, so they do look like they're, as cogs do, interconnect. And then this one I'm going to put on the top because it's thicker. We'll just attach that down. Now I've also got some of those numbers that I've cut from that die, so I'm just going to attach that. Underneath, and go underneath the photo frame and just attach that there. So there we have our card finished, and I can get my photograph underneath. And as you can tell, just with the layering, it just gives you those extra layers. The next card, because I used the backing on this, I've decided to add some of the wick pen just on some of these that are showing. Probably it might be better to do this once you've actually got everything stuck down so that you're not wasting. But we'll just see whether it adds anything or not, or whether to just leave it. Now, this card here, I decided because this was so dark grey that it needed a backing to make it pop. So I have just cut from this sheet the bit that I would never ever use. And so I can actually just attach my card over the top, and that way you're not wasting your good paper. You're actually using the bits that you would never ever use. That, of course, is unless you're a steampunk fan. So we'll just attach this. And as you can tell, it does, that there makes all of the white come out of the card, so that it does look more stamped than it would do normally. And I've decided to, once again, to keep this colour here in the layout. So I'm just going to attach this. Now this is 2 inches by 5.5, and that will just give you your little border. And what I did here is, with this card here, it was a 6x4, and I cut 1/4 inch off the top, 1/4 inch off the side, and that gave me my border all the way around. Now with this one, I have got a true 3x4 photo mat, but if you put that on there, it just melds into the whole card. So I wanted that to actually come out. So what I have done there, I have just cut myself, I put my card down and just cut with my scissors, just a tiny border. You can make this a lot smaller, which I think I might actually do. So I'm just going to eyeball this. And I'm just going to cut. And now when you put that down, you can actually see that you can actually physically really see that photo mat. So instead of having a look at all the stuff you put around it, you're actually looking at the photograph. So we will attach the photo mat to the card first. And if you're not good at eyeballing, you could actually stick this down onto your sheet, then cut, and that way your card is actually already stuck and you'll get your borders absolutely perfect that way, because that's how I normally do it, is I would actually stick my card down first, then cut my borders. That way you get lovely straight borders. Now this is going down the bottom because I want things at the top. So what you do to do that is, once again, just if you've got tape, just remove half and leave the top still with the topping on. That way you can secure your card where you want it to go. Like so. But you've got underneath that you can work with, and it just makes it easier when you're laying. Now once again, I am going to do some layering here. So I'm just going to put my papers in straighten you up a bit. And if you've got, I'm going to put a word down the bottom here, so I'm just measuring to make sure that I haven't taken up too much of my card. Now, here are my layers. I am going to put in and I've got a couple of cogs here. There was another, and another one here. Now, as you can tell with this one, I've coloured that with my texture, but this one I wanted a slightly different colour, so I just used the Distress ink and just used the Wick pen so that your cogs are actually a different colour. So I'm going to pop this cog down here, pop this cog behind, and then that cog on top. So now we'll just take those out because I know the layout where I'm going to put everything now. Gently take this out, so we will attach a little bit of layering card in. And I've edged that with the Distress ink. Then we'll put our gasite paper in. Then we will attach our cog underneath, and then attach the flower so, but don't put your flower right down because you'll be attaching now. I really do think those leaves here are hiding that cog, so what I'm going to do is I'll just take a little bit off and reshape those leaves just to fit. Okay, so we'll put that cog underneath now. And then this cog okay, once we have done that, you can then remove the tape that you had for your photo mat and attach that down. And then I'm going to move that cog and get rid of that little bit of glue underneath here so that you can actually fit your photo underneath. Now this Memories, I've just put a bit of the foam tape at the bottom to raise it up. So that you can get your photograph underneath and your photograph underneath. And then anything that's overlaying your card, just snip it off. There we have. And as I said, I don't think it was really worth putting anything on these because it doesn't really stand out. So there we have our 4 portrait cards finished already. Now we're going to go on to our 3x4s to finish this layout page out. And I have done my photo mats as I do. I always like to have 2 of these for photographs. So I've just cut my 3x4 on my cream card stock. And then I have cut 1/4 inch off of one side of my photo mat and 1/4 inch off the other and laid them on to give me that little 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So there is our 2 cards finished for that. Now with this one here, I used the sheet that you cut the giraffe out from, and I've just used this corner up here with a little bit of stitching to give it to me here. I have cut a tiny bit of the raw iron work here so that I have got some of that around the place to match up, and I've also used my washi tape coming down as well to once again to match that up. So what I have done, I'll give the dimensions of this little piece, which is 2 by 2 3/4, so that it just fits into this corner like so. And then you just put your washi tape down and attach your washi tape up and around. And this gives you your base card to put the things on. Now I'm going to use just a small flower, and this came in the Euphoria kit, but you could use just a journaling card or whatever you want. so that you can actually put some a spot for journaling there. Now, once again, to carry the continuity through the theme, I have got that paper again, and I'm going to put that right in the middle. I just tore a really thin strip, and I'm going to fold that under to keep it secure. It's just so that the whole thing matches up. On this one, I'm going to put this over here like so, and then I'm just going to pop my little flower here, which I might raise. So we will attach our journaling card on, and the little flower here, put a bit of dimensional tape on, and I've been naughty and I haven't edged. I can see little white bits. There we go. So we are going to attach that like so. And there we have a nice little eye candy card with some journaling where you can put your date, where you are, and everything else. Now with this one, I have used the spotty card. So once again, that introduces that throughout the layout. I've also used a little bit of the ruler that came with one of the cut apart sheets. Now, if you use a ruler on one side of your layout, you must use it on the other side of the layout as well. So, and I've introduced some of the numbers with the dark part, a piece of the newsprint again, and one of my flower cutouts, which I've put on dimensional tape. So the first thing we need to do is, this is a 3x4 card. This card here is 1 1/4 by 2 3/4. So we'll just attach this. Make sure that your print is running the right way. So we have a small border running up the side here. I am going to put my numbers in here. Now I cut my numbers out because I wanted to actually position them myself, and I didn't want the white that was in between the numbers, so I cut them out individually. And I will just attach them like so. Then I'm going to put the little ruler just above. Now I want them to be a little bit high. There is our one side of our layout completed, and as you can tell, because I've used this grey here, I've introduced some here. I have also introduced throughout this the newspaper print and the gasite paper as well, so it just keeps your layout flowing, so it doesn't look all out of place. Now we're going to do the right hand side layout. So we're starting off with our landscape cards, which I have done the newspaper print, making sure that my print runs the correct way when I cut my 6x4 card. I'm going to put a little base plate over here with the spot, just to build up my layers. So we'll pop that in. Now that card there is 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. So we'll just lay that straight down. I have got here one of those little cards with a bulldog clip, but if you haven't got that, just use a journaling card or something of that nature. So that is going to go on. But first of all, I have got my, once again, my Gasate paper, which I'm just going to stick on randomly the thicker edge here. Might pop that further down. Reason being, if I put my card here, you can actually see a lot of that tape. So I'm just going to put my journaling card on so I can see all my bits of paper there. And I'm going to curl that under, and I will snip the excess off here. Now for this one, I am just going to build this up. I've got a floral cluster here. I have got some of my numbers here. So I think I might pop this down here, pop my floral on, and pop some numbers up the top as well. Go. And because this had some odd bits, I'm just going to pop some of the little bits that I had that were in the wrong spot. I'm just going to poke them underneath, like so. Now I've got my basic layout. I will deconstruct and attach my numbers down. Stick my numbers up the top here. And this just introduces those numbers that I've used on the other side of the layout as well. This card here will give you a bit of a journaling spot to put some of the information next to your photographs if you don't have labels for your photographs. Once they're stuck down, I've put this on dimensional tape to just lift it up. So we just need to position this where it needs to go. And with glue, these fiddly little bits, I think I need some new glue. I will just attach these onto my card where they need to go. And there we have a very easy card finished. I was quite amazed with this paper line, considering it's so outside my papers that I normally use, that this layout actually went together very, very quickly. Now this card here, as you can see, this one was the card that we did from the portrait side, and this is the landscape. Now I'm going to make a card very similar to this so that it coordinates side to side. So this one, of course, will be laying over. So we will attach just on our cream, which came from that pattern paper at the back, to give you a clue where I cut it from. And this layout actually was good because I hardly used any papers. and I used all of my small scraps up that were left over from these big sheets I cut. Now I'm going to introduce my little bit of newspaper print, which is 2 inches by 3.5. And this piece here was 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, if you wanted to know the size of that. So I'm going to lay, and I just cut the newspaper print as wide as what the area, because when you have a look at these, they actually have the strips of the newspaper. So I've just virtually cut to fit so I wouldn't get those lines off center. So there we have our piece there. We are going to lay our card over like so, so it goes just over that newspaper print. And this is a true 3x4 photo mat, which I've just given that tiny border so it corresponds with the other side. So we are going to pop that onto our layout. And once again, I'm going to only take half of these strips off. So I'm just angling everything up so there's even borders around, and that gives me my work area, because I've got 2 cutouts here. So I'm going to have one at the top, the bingo card, and then this is going on dimensional tape. So all I have to do now is attach this cluster. Just turn it round until you like where it's sitting. Now, as I said, this leaf is a bit big, so I'm just going to cut that down just slightly so that it will fit nicely. And then my bingo card, because I've got a bingo card on the other side, I want something to follow through on this side. So I'm just going to pop my bingo card just slightly off center. And then my dimensional tape piece, which I'm just going to cut that bottom piece off. That looks better. To bring that down, so I'll put my dimensional tape on the back, and I'm going to take that over to the other side and just attach. So then we have 2 matching cards that are completely different, but they follow the layout through. So then you can take your 2 pieces of tape off of the back of your photo mat and attach that fully down. So there we have our next card for the layout. The next 2 cards that we're doing are the bottom of the landscape layout. Now for this card here, I used this piece of paper here because it had interesting cogs and things. So you can actually use those on your layouts. So what we are going to do, I did use this one as well. So we need to cut your card just like that on there, which incorporates that picture, which we'll be using on our layout. Now this one was a really easy one because you've got some of your pictures on the bottom. I just got some of the gasite paper, which I'm going to lay sort of somewhere in the middle, just random. Maybe move it up slightly so it's not so central, and just stick that down. You can fold that piece as it goes round, like so. So it just sits. Now this is a true 3x4 photo mat, which I've just put the little bit of edging on, because when you put that down, yes, that is 3. When you put it down, it just muted in. So I actually put it on the little bit of a border just to make it pop that little bit more. So that is going up into this corner here. So we can attach that. And I'm lifting it up so that we don't take too much of the picture. Now on here, I want to put this flower cluster, and I'm going to cut that piece of key off because it's not what I want. So cut them both off. And we are just going to circle this round. Now we will have a bit of the flower. So I think what I might do is just take those cogs off so that the flower sits more up like this. So we are going to pop that down, and I will bring this piece up here, and we'll lower that down. And I really don't like that leaf there, so I'm going to just cut them both off. And bring that down so we can actually see the paper in the background there. I have manufactured a cog here. Which I think I might just, I don't like it down here, so I'm just going to pop it up the top there. So I will attach that with a bit of glue and slide that up and underneath that flower and attach that. And there we have another card done. Now, our last of our landscape cards, I've just cut my 6x4 card. I have a true 3x4 photo mat with just a little bit of a edging round to make that pop off of that card. I cut the rest of the numbers out that were in the darker area. So I've got 6, 7 and 8. And I had one of the tags from the cut about sheet. So this one is going to go at the top of the page. And then I'm going to have my numbers covering up this man here. So I'm going to level my numbers . Like so. I'm going to lay this one here, the ruler. I have cut a little bit off so I can see the 7 and the 8. And I don't want it to go right across the page. So I'm just going to pop that one like so. And then I'm going to put my photo mat just here so I can still see some of my numbers. And now you can see why I've cut it so we can see the ruler 7 there. So I'm just going to attach my photo mat So I'll just attach my photo mat here so I can see quite a bit of the 6 and quite a bit of the 7, and get that sort of into the middle of your page so you have equal top and bottom. Now I'm going to have this remember this moment little saying up the top. Like so. And then I forgot to put my ruler in. So I'm just going to slide, poke that up, and just slide that in so it lays across the top. And then I'm going to cut the excess off. Like so. And then this little cluster, I've actually cut some of the keyholes and things off because I want that to just sit up here like so, so you can see a bit of the ruler, the numbers and things. So that is going on the card, and any excess I will just cut off. And there we have another little card finished. To complete our layout, we are now doing a 3x4 portrait cards. Now this little card here, I cut from the paper that had the birdie that was on top of the giraffe because it had some of the cogs. So I'm going to cover that little steampunk birdie up. By doing that, I have just got a tag that I've cut from the cut apart sheet. So that is going to go down first to give me some of my, and that will cover a lot of that bird. So I'm popping that up there like so. And then on top of that, I have got one of my clusters, which I want down the bottom here, like so. And to cover up the rest of this, because I've got some cogs here, I'm going to just stick the clock here, making sure my time is correct, over here, and tilt my flower so I can see the cog, and then I'm going to slip my cog underneath. So this is a really easy to put together. So we are going to slip our flower on first, but don't press that down too hard because you've got to get things underneath. Our clock goes next, making sure our time is sitting at the top, which will cover the rest of that bird up. And now I'm going to cut that leaf off here because I really dislike it. And then my cog, I'm just going to glue that in underneath my flower. And I've just put the brown distress ink on that with some of my Wick pen. And just stick that down. And there we have a very easy card. So I haven't edged that card yet. So I'll quickly just go over the edging there. So there is one done there. Now with this one, this is the paper that I cut off here to use this piece. I have just introduced my washi tape so that it matches the other side of the layout. And on that washi tape, I'm just going to put a piece of that gasite paper. So once again, that follows through what we have been doing. I'm just going to pop that on top like so. Now for this one, I've got a small cluster which is similar to this cluster here, but it's a small one, which I'm going to put just here. Because I've got all of this, I can add another small cog just into the workings, and then I'm going to add some of those numbers again, like so. So now that I know exactly where everything's going to sit, I will glue my cog down and try to get it so it's looking like it's working on the other cogs. I will attach my flowers, and I think for those I might actually pop that on dimensional tape. And as you can see, I haven't inked that very well. So then with a bit of glue, I will just introduce those numbers again into the layout, making sure I've got my numbers up the right way. And then fold my tapes underneath, like so. I didn't edge this card, so I'll just quickly go around and edge that card. And there we have our two candy cards. Now, with these photo mats, I just did my 3x4 and I cut off 1/8 of an inch on two sides to give me that small border for this one here. And then for this one, I did a 3x4, then I cut off 1/8 of an inch all the way around, and I used the paper there, and then I just put my photo mat, which I'd cut down to 2 3/4 by 3 3/4, and that just gave me that little tiny border to make that extra card pop out. So here we have our last side completely finished. And as I said, this layout really did come together very, very quickly in the end. I think it was because the tonings were just so well thought out. Well, we've got to the final part of our process video and our layout is finished. So I hope you enjoyed the process video. Tune in till next time when I will do another complete different type of layout for you with more tips and techniques. And please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep well. Bye.